is a place, there is a moment, there is a feeling and escape from your ordinary way. There is a place, there is a time, there is a reason to make today an extraordinary day. Look what you're missing, look what you're missing. There's a world for you to see, paradise to set you free. Look what you're missing, look what you're missing. Come along, I'll take you there, an adventure we can share. There is a place.
So last time out, besides all the beautiful people and places, we got through quite a bit of riding in Bus. This time out, we're going to concentrate a little more on the history, starting off right here in the historic little village of Matjiesfontein.
After travelling some 250 kilometers into the interior from Cape Town, it appears as if we have also travelled back in time. Matjiesfontein was developed from 1883 by the legendary Scottish railwayman James Logan, and at one time it was a world-famous health resort which attracted many famous personalities. The hotel, constructed in 1899 during the early part of the war, was used as a command base for the British forces, with a large part of the building being used as a hospital. Today the town stands as a veritable piece of Victoriana. The town boasts various Victorian museums and even an old London bus used as part of the town's sightseeing tour. The Union Jack is still raised here every day. The hotel is reportedly home to several ghosts, and if all the stories are to be believed, Matjiesfontein could be the most haunted village in the world. The small village also boasts several firsts. It was the first village to have electricity, waterborne sewage with a flushing loo, a telephone, and also the first cricket test ever played in South Africa.
I was born here 54 years back in the servant quarters. I'm still here. 1899 they used it for British soldiers who was wounded during that Anglo-Boer War time. 10,000 British soldiers at the feet of the mountain. When you walk up there, you still found that old empty bullets. Normally a ghost comes out in the night, but here it come out in the day. As a soldier walk here, and then Lord Milner's wife walk here.
I've seen it, yeah.
Lord Milner self walk here.
Tell us the story, how did the London bus get to be here?
Well, it was coming from England. Was the owner, Mr. David Roder. He bought it on an auction in England. Bring it per ship, 1960. And in 1976, he drive it from Cape Town to here. I'm addicted to people.
It's a good problem to have if you live in a place like this.
Yeah, and this is a passion.
Sadly, while we could quite happily spend more time in and around Matjiesfontein, we do need to hit the road again and move on to Laingsburg. And to save some time, we're going to shoot straight up the N1 highway, although there are gravel road alternatives.
In around 1862, Stephanus Cruyff acquired the farm Fishkale aan die Buffelsrivier, with the specific purpose of starting a settlement. The first plots were sold on April the 1st, 1880, and the first village that grew from this settlement was named Buffalo. However, with the arrival of the railway line, the name eventually changed to Nassau to avoid confusion with East London's Buffalo River. The name was changed to Laingsburg in 1881 in honour of John Lane, Commissioner of Crown Lands at the Cape. Laingsburg will forever have a place in history as the site of one of the most tragic natural disasters in South Africa. The Laingsburg flood of 1981, which claimed 104 lives. Looking around this arid landscape, it is difficult to believe that in a single weekend, 425 millimeters of rain fell in the town's catchment area. The rivers were soon swollen far beyond anything seen before, and it did not take much before a blockage had formed in the Buffels River at the railway bridge just south of the town. and within a few hours the town was underwater and a large part was destroyed. But the Laingsburg flood also showed the resilience of South Africans. Almost immediately the town started rebuilding with help from all over, proving how South Africans can come together in times of need.
It's often difficult to imagine the magnitude of disasters like this, especially if you didn't have first-hand experience. Like here, we're looking at the flood level from 1981, and sure, it looks pretty deep. But what you need to do is take that flood level line and make an imaginary line out into this valley, for lack of a better word, and then you'll begin to see just how much water was here. And it would have been raging water at that.
Add to this the fact that some survivors were rescued in the Flores Scroll Dam, 21 kilometers away. And some of the deceased were eventually found as far away as Mossel Bay. And you begin to realize how devastating this freak flood was. The more you understand it, the more the reality of the situation becomes heartbreaking.
This was an exceptionally high flood because of the circumstances that the water reached here. If it was a normal, just the Buffalo River, it would come and flow through. But with the two smaller rivers first coming down and forming a blockage, and then the big river coming down, that was the problem. On the big photo up there, you can see the shiny bits on that photo is all water, mud that was left after the flood. There they could depict where they could build a new town without water reaching it. The importance of this event dawned on us as soon as I started working in the library. I had a lot of questions and requests for what happened and people looking for certain addresses and names. Then we'd already started collecting paper clippings. And after that, the municipality bought us the video footage that came over the TV at the time, because none of us had TVs. And that I edited all that we found there to sort of cement our collection of the disaster as it happened and why it happened. Because by now, someday it's going to be history. It's not quite history yet, but you do have to know the correct facts to build on that. The message of the flood for me is actually that after any problem, damage or disaster, you can't go and sit in a bundle and let life roll over you. You take your little bundle and by the grace of God you carry on. And that you can't do alone. You've got to have your hand on the right place.
Thank you very much for your time.
It's a pleasure.
And everything you've showed us today, and it's a wealth of information we've got today. I think we came here looking to learn something, and I think we've learned a lot more than we actually.
And you've had some Karoo hospitality.
Yes, and Karoo lamb.
Oh yes.
But Laingsburg is not just the site of a tragic disaster. This gateway to the Great Karoo is a year-round destination with a proud tradition of old-fashioned hospitality. Laingsburg is a town where you can come and relax, drink coffee on a sunny stoep, and idly contemplate life.
Or Laingsburg can be the central point for many different adventure activities in the area. In fact, that's one of their big tourism drives at the moment. The road's less travelled. Plus, the town has its own unique attractions like the Flood Museum, the Farmers Market also comes to mind. We're finding out there's plenty of interesting people to meet here, and if you do come to stay here, there are plenty of accommodation and eating out options available for you. But it is time to leave, and from here we head out on the R323 towards Ladysmith to our next stop, which is at the northern end of the Buffelspoort Gorge, and that is situated in the Laingsburg mountain range. Now I'm really looking forward to this next stretch because the R323 from here to where it becomes a dirt road must contain some of the most beautiful collections of flowing curves you'll find anywhere in South Africa. And we get to ride down the Rooinek Pass.
Rooinek Pass?
What?
You should feel right at home then.
Yeah.
Come on, Rooinek Pass. Put the Rooinek on it. It's funny. Now over there, where you can see that bit of shadow, is the northern end of the Buffelspoort. And tomorrow we'll be popping into the southern end to say hello to some old friends of ours. But right now we are going to a site of a battle known as the Slag van Driefontein. Besides it being a bit in ruin, everything is more or less just as it was, including the actual houses the Boers stayed in. And you can still apparently see bullet marks in both the houses and the surrounding rocks. So let's check it out.
On the 10th of September 1901, Commandant Pieter van der Merwe, 17 years of age, led a commando of 79 Boer citizens through the Buffelspoort from the Ladysmith side and set up camp in the farmhouses on the farm Driefontein. What followed is a tragic story of betrayal, neglect, brisk military strategy and severe bloodshed. It is quite clear that Van der Merwe was confused about the layout of the roads in the area and therefore set his sentries in the wrong direction. It was to prove a costly mistake. After being alerted by a farm worker, a British contingent of men commanded by Colonel E.M.S. Crabbe surrounded the houses during the night. The next morning, terrible bloodshed followed. Although the young soldiers fought back bravely against the onslaught of the khakis, they were no match for the surprise and position the English had on their side. Eventually, only 28 of the commando escaped, some of them to be recaptured later. Commandant Pieter van der Merwe was one of the casualties who perished in the attack, killed at war at the tender age of 17.
17. That was also the average age of this Boer commando. The youngest was 14 and the oldest was 21. Now most 17-year-olds I know are playing Xbox and shooting monsters and stuff. I mean, I know it was different times, but can you imagine being 14 years old and having a whole British commando up there trying to kill you? Unbelievable and pretty scary.
We now get to ride a really stunning piece of road known as the Rupos Road. It runs right next to the Klein Swartberg mountain range and then climbs up into the plateau. From there, it's not that far to overnight accommodation at the Gamkaskloof Dam cottages. Now with the day filled mostly with sad stories, I'm really looking forward to a cheery campfire and something to eat, and even a couple of shots of our favourite muscle relaxer. It's been a long day, but it's not over quite yet. Before we get down to the dam, we get to ride the magnificent Buffelspoort Pass.
Here we are finally, the Buffelspoort Pass. And as Henk has said, this is truly one of the more spectacular passes you could get to ride on a motorcycle. However, it is full of tight and twisty and often blind little corners where two vehicles cannot pass each other at stages. So let's have a look at a few things to remember when you're riding down a pass like this, concentrating today on going downhill.
Now, I suppose the main thing when going downhill is to try and control your speed. If you're able to maintain a safe and manageable speed right from the start, well then you're halfway there. So look to things like the gears mainly, assisted by gentle pressure on the brakes to try and control your speed from the start.
I will always go very slowly into blind corners until I can make absolutely sure there's nothing coming from the front, bearing in mind that standing lengthens your vision. It's also a good idea wherever possible to scan the road ahead, looking for signs of oncoming vehicles like dust. But even if you can't see anything, always be very alert, especially in remote areas like this.
As always, you need to be looking and planning ahead. Look for areas with good traction, and where you have good visibility, go into corners wide, as it's easier to turn in to change a line than have to change a line to the outside. And put pressure on that outside foot peg always during a turn.
Now the views down towards the dam are simply superb from a couple of points along here. But the cost of making a mistake while riding, because you're looking at the landscape, can be very high due to the narrow roads and steep drop-offs. So do yourself a favour, take the time to stop and have a look at the view properly. It's not only safer, I promise you, it's worth it.
Nestled at the mouth of the majestic Gamkaskloof Canyon, overlooking the Gamka and Dwyka rivers, lies a wilderness beckoning you to leave your city life and experience the tranquility that Karoo has to offer. The construction of the dam allowed for the creation of a nature reserve, which is inhabited by many mammals, insects, birds, and plants of a large variety. The daily call of the fish eagle is a reminder that you have left your city life behind you.
What a stunning location. Cottages are basic but very clean and neat. And the view from up here, well, that is simply awesome in one word. And now we're going to have a chat with one Fox Lederboom, who is first and foremost a protector of the environment.
You can call him an eco-warrior if you like, I'm sure he won't mind. But he is a man on a mission to keep this piece of pristine wilderness protected.
The Buffelspoort was built, 1860 something. And then they finished the Swartberg Pass and they stopped working on Buffelspoort. We've got two pairs of fish eagle. Have you heard the fish eagle?
We heard them this morning.
It says so the call of the fish eagle will let you know you've left the city behind.
No, they like that krantz over there, just to the right of it, it's this gum tree where the trees are, and then they like it, this spot over here. There's a bit of white patch on it, that's where they sit. No, you talk about going down, we don't let people go into the canyon anymore. You know, the silt, what would normally be a Karoo River, with a lot of silt in it, which is easy to walk on. That silt now, since the building of the dam, is in the dam. And one group that walked in from the bottom, the Collinsville side, I mean, they left at 6 in the morning. The last one got to the hill at 11:30 that night.
One of the nicest passes to ride on motorcycles. The views are just,
It's awesome.
it's just incredible.
And the road's actually fun.
The rules are, come here, enjoy the nature, take your litter with you when you leave,
Yeah, absolutely.
drive
Take it
slowly, respect the environment.
out. Whatever you bring, take it out.
Take
with
it
you.
with you, yeah.
Fox, thanks very much for speaking to us, and thanks for having us here, and it's
Special place.
Fantastic.
It's really special to be here.
We really were spoilt by Fox Liederberg, as he showed us around his backyard. He explained in detail how the whole water and dam system, and in fact the dam itself, works. He also took us on a tour deep into the wall of the dam, as well as into the put below it. And this, with many stories and historical facts, made for one of the most interesting days we have experienced in a long time. His knowledge and passion for the environment is, however, what comes through most strongly when talking to him. He really is a true protector of the environment.
So these are the ruins of the original old toll house for the Seekoegat. And according to the legends and some of the locals, the ghost of the first toll house keeper can still be seen on dark, stormy nights. He apparently appears with his lantern flagging down motorists, and when they stop, he disappears as mysteriously as he appeared. Other stories have him frantically running up and down the road, waving his lantern to warn the motorists of the approaching storms and rising floodwaters. Now, as always, you can choose to believe these stories or not. Me? Well, I'm just happy we're going through here in broad daylight today.
It's possibly one of the most magnificent and spectacular mountain ravines in South Africa. It's also one of 3 major gateways linking the central Karoo to the Little Karoo.
The job of building a road through the Little Swartberg was given to a team of convicts in the 1850s. The route was to follow the course of a stream that ran through the 17-kilometer long ravine we know as Seekoegat. The road was finally completed in November 1862 and is still in use. Riding through here, you will see excellent examples of the Cape Fold Mountains, and you will almost be able to feel the strength of the volcanic convulsions that formed these folds millions of years ago. There are many stories about the choice of the name, mostly to do with the length of time it took various people, from smugglers and thieves to lost people, to find their way through the Poort, or in fact be found in the Poort. You will find anything from 7 days to 7 weeks in the stories. But the most probable origin of the name comes from one of the founder members of the Berlin Mission Station at Amelinstein, on the southern end of the Poort, namely the Reverend Zerwix. And it is quite possible that the original name was Zerwixpoort, later to be pronounced Seekoegat.
So behind us is the southern entrance to the Buffelspoort Gorge. Now, in the past, I've had the privilege of spending many days exploring this place right in the Poort and also the surrounding areas. I've been lucky enough to drive my 4x4 through here all the way from the Laingsburg side 11 times. I've also driven my small enduro bike to the top of the mountain on both sides of this gorge, using the Laingsburg Trail and what's known as the old Eskom Road.
And we can tell you, having seen it from inside out and above, it must be one of the 7 wonders of the Cape. Unfortunately, it's been badly damaged by recent floodwaters, making a through journey by vehicle near impossible at the moment.
So at one stage, there were plans to build a suspension road right through this Poort that would link Ladysmith and Laingsburg by the shortest route. So the engineers came and did extensive prep work, which included marking the cliffs with white crosses where the road was to be attached. But when the floods came in 1981, the water level was apparently 4 meters higher than where the road was going to be. That's just one of the reasons that the whole project was eventually canned.
The fact that it is not possible to drive through the Poort in a 4x4 is actually good news for bikers. The emphasis on adventurous activities on the farm is becoming more focused on motorcycles, both the adventure and enduro type. The Buffelspoort is not only a fantastic spot for an overnight stop, it's also a base station for exploring the area. Rudy has marked out many trails that can be ridden on the smaller enduro type motorcycles around the farm. There are various trails on offer, from open plains to challenging climbs to the top of the mountains. And when the water level permits, one can even ride a fair distance into the Buffelspoort itself. There really is something for every level of riding expertise.
After a fairly short riding day today, this is home for the night. And Rudy and his wife have a stunning little cottage here, a campsite with full ablutions, and they can provide food and wood and just about anything else you could think of.
And we've just got a whole lot more excited about this place because although we knew there were Anglo-Boer War graves on this farm, we've just found out that one of those graves belongs to Commandant Peter van der Merwe. Now you'll remember that name as the brave young lad who led the Boers into battle at die Slag van Driefontein, and Rudy has promised to take us there in the morning. Right now though, we're getting ready for some proper Kuru lamb, something called Buffelsblitz.
So this morning we have some really stunning riding planned, right through the Laingsburg Nature Reserve. But before we get there, we get to ride over the Klein Swartberg mountain pass. Not quite as magnificent as its big brother between Prince Albert and Oudtshoorn, but special all the same.
So here is proof that sometimes history is lost in translation. All our research up to this point showed us that this young man was 17 when he died at the Slag van Driefontein, yet his gravestone indicates that he was 19. And he's also buried with 2 other soldiers that were killed in the same battle.
The Laingsburg Nature Reserve lies in the Klein Karoo between Ladysmith, Laingsburg, Touwsrivier and Montague. The reserve was established in 1988 in order to conserve the local vegetation and to eventually reintroduce game species which historically occurred in this region. The Laingsburg lies within the Cape Fold Mountains and the vegetation is transitional between mountain fynbos and typical Klein Karoo veld. Many animals can be found here, including leopard. Laingsburg offers the visitor a choice of several accommodation options and various recreational activities.
Well, I've got that feeling again. It's the last day and we're heading home. But I really don't want to go home. When I see things like that, I want to phone in sick and point this bike in any other direction but homeward.
Oh well, I suppose the upside is we can get back, spend less than a day planning and getting ready, and be on the road again soon. That's the great thing about adventure bikes. It's not like owning a yacht or a holiday home. With these bikes packed, we can be in a different location every weekend if we wanted to. And they have the ability to take us almost anywhere.
Unfortunately for us, today anywhere is home. But before we get to Montague for a last refuel, we can look forward to some more stunning gravel roads and we get to ride down the other Oberg Pass. For more about that in the next episode. Until then,
Ride safe.
look after yourselves.
Look what you've been saying. Come along, I'll take you there. An adventure we can share. There is a place, there is a moment, there is a feeling, an escape from your ordinary way.